Hello, folks. On this week's show, we take a dive into Warhammer Plus and ask the question, is it worth it for you? We also take a look at all the week's gaming news and some excellent Kickstarters and indies. On top of all of that, from store.ontabletop.com, one lucky subscriber will get a chance to win Kill Team Octarius when we hit 100,000 subs. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you could be in with a chance to win. But right now, sit back and relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello everybody, we're back again for another fun-filled week of hobby news, and I have with me this week a John, released into the wild once more.
Hola, John.
Hola.
So, Brother Lloyd is here to steer us through some of the more complicated pictures and images we want to see, with only the necessary amount of clicking required. And, of course, the other half of the Tasty Boys. It's nearest and dearest Ben.
Hello.
So we know who we are. You know who we are. Let's get on with the show. First up, the Ice Maiden is being released this week. It's a honking chunk of Pykrete resin for Warcradle's Dystopian Wars.
Oh, do we have one in the studio?
We have had one in the studio.
Yeah.
John's even splattered paint across it.
I have, yeah.
Is it still in the studio?
Still in the studio.
For a limited time only, Lloyd, until it goes back home with me.
Is it within grabbing reach?
No.
Oh,
I'd have to run out of the room and grab it.
But we don't need to, do we? Because
No.
there is videos and stuff about it.
There is indeed, yeah. So Justin got a chance to unbox the Ice Maiden fleet set, which is a massive fleet in a box. And then we also have a little bit of a walk through, I suppose, the Imperium fleet.
Well, let's see.
The Ice Maiden as well with myself and John, which is a separate video later on.
Coolio. So he just takes us through whoa, that is big. I haven't seen this in comparison to people's hands before.
It's a chunking piece of resin.
It is a very chunk.
Yeah. So, if you want to remove a ship, we learned from the Titanic the best way to do it is to crash into it with an iceberg. And if you've got the iceberg already, you may as well stick planes on it. I think there's planes and guns and float your way to victory. And that is exactly what they're doing.
Cool. Is the other vlog out? Do you guys paint it in the other vlog?
Yes.
John, sort of painted.
Yeah. John splashes some colour on it. We have a look at a couple of different sort of fleet options as well for the Imperium with the Elector and the Templehof.
Yeah, so that should have been out today when you're watching this. So you should be able to go and check that out. And that's going to be a look through, kind of like, as Joe was saying, how you build the fleet up and everything like that, and what it looks like compared to everything else on the table. Because obviously, it's nice to get a sort of like an idea of scale and that kind of thing, which is always cool. And there, John slaps some paint on it and does a really awesome little time lapse thing. So if you've not seen it already, make sure to go and check it out. So,
yeah, and that's out now, is it?
It'll be out now. Yes.
Pre-order at the minute. Is it? Is this last day?
Yeah. So last day of pre-order, yeah.
Yeah, today is the last pre-orders. You can go and get it over on Wayland Games. Download it. Buy it.
You wouldn't download a car.
Yeah, so you can buy it, and as Jerry was saying, it's part of that battle fleet set. So it's not just the Ice Maiden; you get the rest of the Imperium stuff as well.
Look, trains, Lloyd.
Yeah,
a ship with trains on it.
Where is it? It's gone away again.
Oh, that was the one you're on.
Where was it?
There you go. See?
Oh, yeah, trains. Oh.
If you're looking to get into Dystopian Wars with the Prussians,
yes,
then this is an excellent way of doing it because you don't need anything else.
And the color scheme is very forgiving for them too.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, this one's even got train tracks right there.
They all have them. The whole idea behind the fleet is they roll on and roll off the weapons they require. So if they need a missile launcher and a generator, they'll wheel it on. If they don't, they'll wheel it off and wheel some big guns on instead.
I didn't know that.
They're very modular people, very Germanic. The Prussians. Efficient.
So that's what the flat bit at the back is. Literally, you turn up at the dock, they connect another bit of railway, and on it goes the railgun.
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
It's lovely way they've done the Prussians. I like they actually have a modularity rule where they can swap the locations of some of the guns and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting.
What about this thing here? Because I know there's different options. Is there any magnetizing options?
Oh yeah, you could magnetize all of the pieces on that, I think.
Because there's 3 different variants of the Ice Maiden.
Yeah.
Basically, I think it's because the guns at the front change between the variants.
Correctamundo. I don't think any pieces used multiple times that would prevent you from doing it. I know on some of the ships there are certain pieces that are required for each of the gun variants, so you could magnetize them, but then it becomes very fiddly because you're dealing with sort of thin layers. But for the Ice Maiden, it's a big hunking chunk of resin. You should be able to, John, don't you think?
Yeah, because most of all the weapons on the ship are off the plastic sprues anyway. So, I mean, you could magnetize every weapon that comes off those sprues and just decide what you're doing.
Anyway, apart from the dystopian goodness of the wars, we are going to move on and take a look at some Muppets with our Indie of the Week. So this week, if Brother Lloyd has it, we're going to take a look at ZombieSmith.
I love that we continue to get even more of this lovely Jerry's ASMR variant of the Indie of the Week as we go. It's fantastic stuff.
I'm not a big fan of shouting like a shouty thing. So, ZombieSmith. A variety of stuff from 6mm to 15mm to 28mm, and covers a whole slew of genres as well. Mostly fantasy and sci-fi, and mostly completely bat guano insane.
This is so hard to use.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you don't press any of those buttons. You can see why I kept this one for you, Lloyd.
Oh, the buttons, the side back and forth don't work. Arrow keys. Oh no.
Oh no, but if you scroll over it, it does. Yeah, see, isn't it excellent? Fantastic.
There we go.
Right, you've already started clicking. I see. I'm going to try and steer you away from the clicking there.
But robots, man, robots.
Yeah, well, there's grey aliens. If you play your card right.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm tuned in.
God, where have you gone? Right, there we go. Horror. We'll start with horror. Horror's relatively simple. There's not much in here. There's a lot of stuff you can use the ZombieSmith bits and pieces for. Obviously, having a Camp Grizzly base set is just a hacker with a lovely bear mask slaughtering his way through the innocent teenagers at Camp Grizzly.
Mm-hmm.
And, what more needs to be said, really? Sort of a black site sort of...
Don't Look Back
Don't Look Back type of thing.
I was thinking it would match well with a lot of stuff from Studio Miniatures as well, because they do their kind of like horror genre stuff as well. That'd be neat. So
if you're going to play things incorrectly, like an RPG, you could use it for some horror games. But
yes,
there was something popped up in the news that this would be perfect for. I spotted it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so Blacksite they released their Camp Northwood terrain set, which is for Don't Look Back. But all of this PDF, God's sake, MDF terrain. Jesus, I'm downloading everything in my mind apparently this week. But all this terrain can be put together for like 28, 32mm horror themed war games. So
where to go?
Yeah,
would just be a match made in heaven.
So pretty perfect.
That's great.
Oh yeah, pretty perfect if you're doing anything for Halloween, which is pretty awesome. And all this stuff is pre-painted as well from the guys at Blacksite. So if you're interested in that,
the stuff I was just looking at.
Yeah, it's all pre-colored. That stuff.
Oh, sweet. What about these ones? Another set of them?
Yeah, another set. Less cutesy. I'm assuming that is somebody fighting back against our delightful grizzly beard man, which is a shame, really, because all he wants to do is give cuddles and hack people to death with a hatchet. But cuddles.
Cool. Moving on then. What's next, Jerry?
Well, shall we take a look at the most important thing of all, which I know Ben is dying to talk about, which is the War of the Ashes. War of Ashes Muppet Vikings.
No. I mean, that title alone is a winner for me.
Much so.
What do I do? Just click one. Oh, here we go.
You click anyone you want. I wouldn't click the rulebook ones at the start. If you want to have a look, the link is there for the PDF. Not there in the show notes.
Oh, okay.
The PDFs are available for free, and there are multiple games on ZombieSmith's website. So Shield Wall is the massed battle game. Shield Bash is a skirmish game in case you want to do, Muppet Vikings fighting over the deck of a longboat. Then that will be the system to use. And don't go bigger than 2x2, really, as far as your board goes. If you hit 4x4, you've gone too far. But they're like 160-page full-color rulebooks.
Can you see the book? Yeah.
Yep, we can.
And these, I think, show off the sort of things you're going to be seeing when you start going through the actual miniatures, because they all have a very...
They are unbelievably cute.
Muppet feel. Muppet violence is the best kind of violence. So you get the whole history of the world, the maps. Shield Bash is the same. I think it's about 6 pages shorter. So it's not just here's 12 pages of rules for our miniatures. This is a lived-in world that has been developed over at ZombieSmith, and I just think they're absolutely amazing. And when you start to get into the minis, you'll see that the character of this comes across with their big, round, Muppety heads, their big, flappy Canadian mouths. They're just excellent.
Okay, well, let's see. How do we get to the minis?
So any of the ones below, so after the 2 rule books, everything below those is another rule book. Everything below the rule books. There we go.
Lloyd's back.
He is back. Clicking on all figures is probably a good way to go. So the Atroians are kind of... I get a very water feel from them. I haven't been through the full history yet. Look at the size of those pictures, Lloyd. You see why I kept this for you? Oh, I love you, mate.
That's
I see you dying inside every time you click on something.
There we go. Take that. Find a big one.
Oh, what a shame. But yeah, obviously each of them have a sort of distinct flavor in some regard, but within the whole world, they are still very Muppety. Is that a word? Muppety?
It is now. It is now. Yeah.
You should have a look at the Grungnal, and also the critters. I think most factions have access to some form of critters or animal dog-like things like the canids, which are just particularly weird. Fear the angry, is that like a wheeled guinea pig thing on the left? What does that mean? What?
They remind me of the kind of things you would have seen in a very small American production that would have gone onto like Saturday morning TV in the UK on CITV or something back in the day.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that. After finger bobs comes, whale guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Probably some good eating in that though, because apparently guinea pigs are quite tasty. Tastes like pig.
Yeah, well,
surprisingly,
it's the equivalent of a Sunday roast for people in Peru, I think.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love the guinea rats.
Yeah, the Elvorax are quite nice as well, and the Vidar and the Jarl are some of the favorites.
I think it was the Elvorax, and the Vidar that you were saying there. They were the ones that were kind of the focus of one of their latest Kickstarters, I think it was, because they were trying to make it so that you had those two kind of forces as the mainstays. I thought it was really cool. So, yeah.
You're torturing me with these. Oh, there we go. Nice big one.
Yeah.
Am I torturing you with these pictures, Lloyd?
Yeah.
That almost makes it sound like that I've had this waiting in the sidelines for you to come back for months. and yet, that's exactly what happened.
The thing that I quite like about these, just in terms of the sculpts themselves and kind of what they promote from a hobby perspective, is that it kind of allows you to dive into something that's a little dark age, but also add like a massive splash of like poppy colors. So you can really go to town on it and have fun with it and play around with like fur textures and things on their bodies and their heads and stuff.
Yeah, cool. And you could go completely Muppets on them, bright primary monster colors, or what's that one from Monsters Inc? Scully.
Oh yes,
yes,
Scully,
the big blue guy.
Yeah,
sure. That one.
Oh no,
yes, with all the polka dots on him.
Is Scully the blue guy, or is he the?
Scully's the blue guy, and then I can't remember the other guy's called. But...
Sully, not Scully.
Sully
was the redhead from the X-Files. Different, completely different. Yeah. Although at the same time similar.
I kind of get a bit of vibes of. Do you remember the game Relics?
Yes. Yeah.
It's got a bit of that vibe to it. Sort of a darker but quirky.
Yeah,
much so.
especially with their patchwork doll type feel.
Yeah, the Britannans or something.
Yes, that was it. Yeah,
because I still have an army of those somewhere.
Oh,
look
man.
at that.
That's good.
They're not far away from some sort of Dark Crystal-esque
Very much
Henson workshop monster. See how the Muppet theme goes throughout these.
Or that's a Muppet riding a man in a green suit, one of those morph suits.
They're going to put in legs in post.
Yes. Yeah.
Or that's a Muppet riding two men.
But yes,
because the legs at the front, he's just his arms sticking out for the head, and then the guy at the back's holding on to his waist.
The TV production is coming to life.
It writes itself. So apparently these are also very good for Muppet versions of 7TV. Who knew?
Man, the Jarl are cool.
Yeah. I think after the Jarl we'll sod on because there's so much more to see on this website that isn't just Muppet Viking.
Muppet Viking.
We have to get to the Muppets in space.
Man, they're so awesome. I think it's a really nice idea to have something, as I was saying, that's like an alternative to kind of like traditional fantasy stuff. Because a lot of times you'd see something that was done kind of like Dark Age fantasy done with like elves and dwarves and all that kind of thing. But obviously they've gone, no, we're going to do something completely different and we're going to throw a whole bunch of weird Muppets into the mix.
Yeah. And at the same,
really nice.
at the same time, you've got, you should definitely have a look at Free Jalouf.
Right, so we've gone into
Muppets Project Muppets in Space.
I love that it's Project
and remember, that should be pronounced Muppets in Space.
Of course,
People of an age. But again, really quirky.
I think
Muppet Field sci-fi.
Oh.
But with games at the moment like Stargrave being so popular.
Or five parsecs.
5 parsecs and Rogue Stars picking up unusual alien races and civilians and general hangers-on to populate your boards.
Mm-hmm.
And these are so far out of left field. Now, there's a whole slew of other sci-fi stuff that we will be looking at because there's some interesting things in there. Obviously, there's the Greys in there for Lloyd later on. But, we'll get to them. There is a rule set for this as well, which is also available as a free PDF. Nice. There's also they sell hard copy versions of the books as well, which you have to pay cash money for. But I do like the fact that you can get the PDFs gratis and have we poke around. And also these.
I like these.
Did you say those are 28mm scale?
They're 28mm scale, but they're tiny. It's tiny little swarm.
Wow.
The squats have returned.
Yeah. I think these are smaller than squats.
Those are adorable.
Bigger than those.
Oh, are the eyes modelled in then? Is that a model face?
I think they are.
That's the little face behind this visors here.
Those are nostrils and they don't have any eyes. Maybe. And they just smell everything. They come from a subterranean land.
Their vision is based on smell.
It makes as much sense as anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We'll take a look at the third.
Yeah, you'll hit occasional things like this, which are just, one thing
I
so far.
This thing.
Yeah, I've done this. There may be more added to them later on. There might not be. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, the third, not the third. I've read that wrong. Disgraceful.
Apparently so.
These look like the robots from the old Smash adverts.
Yes. Just need to paint them red and blue.
Yeah.
Oh, can I get this picture? Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
There's one with his beak out.
I think those are really awesome. Those are really cool.
Where do you want to go now, mate?
If you go sci-fi and fantasy, we'll stick with the sci-fi theme for the time being. Now, each one of these is a different range.
Oh, okay.
So I want to start with that random aliens passing through. This contains a slew of individual aliens, mixtures of aliens, vehicles, bots, droids, and in a lot of cases, when you hit them, you'll get like a little blurb about them as well, which are completely nonsensical and have nothing to do with anything. There's an egg-shaped alien with an eye on a stalk that is an exotic dancer on board the space station. So this is all based on a 72D, whatever that random number was. This is a space station where aliens come and pass through, like a Babylon 5 or DS9. So some are workers, some are travelers, and in there you get things like this. And again, Stargrave, people.
Yes, this is
Are you
perfect for
watching?
Stargrave.
Are you watching Stargrave?
Or core space alternatives.
Yeah, or core space.
Yeah.
And I love them because the body type, there's that alien, the exotic dancer's on the left there. You can see her. The A with the eye of stock. Anyway, I think her name's Thrill. Apart from the batches, you can buy also all of them individually. And that's where you'll see the important things. I really like those cars. They are low detail because they're cheap. And it's like, how quickly can I cast these? How many cars do you want to put on your tabletop? And don't want to pay a fortune for it just to add a bit more variety.
Also, you could just kit bash bits and pieces and use plastic art if you really want to add a bit more detail and stuff. So.
It also says there, he's also willing to sell molds of them so you can cast your own if you want.
Oh, cool.
You just email them and they'll sort out a price with you. But
they look surprisingly levitating, don't they?
Yeah, I like it. I imagine that's because whatever way they're cast, they've got like a thick base bottom on them that's just inside. And so it just gives them a little bit of a rise. And that's what you want for your spacey hover cars. Put a string of those together and you can have Anakin leaping from one to the other.
Yes.
For no reason. Yeah. Please stay inside, Anakin.
I really like these. I think they're really awesome.
I don't even know where you currently are, Lloyd. Are we
we're
still on page 1, are we? Or have you jumped on?
No, we only got far as page 1 because there's 6 pages of this.
There is 6 pages. I think the greys were on page 5 or 6, so you're probably going to have to go a little while. But you can see there more weird and wacky aliens and then the occasional sort of droid/bot. There's some of them. That's not all of them.
Mini greys.
Mini greys.
What do you mean mini greys? Greys are mini to begin with.
Yep, well, these definitely are that.
Oh, gotta get me some of these.
For no reason.
No reason.
Worked him into his Rust Force, that's clearly what he's going to do.
Oh, look at this one.
That is so Captain Bucket.
And that's very much in the style of, was it Destroy All Humans?
Oh,
the old computer game. Yeah. And there's the Doctor staring inquisitively at the captain after hearing one of his commands. What? You sure you want me to do that?
This is a pretty cool range. I gotta admit.
I like that they've, as you said, like they've added some background and added character names and stuff as well. Because then if you're playing the skirmish yourself, like a skirmish game or a role playing game, and you're like caught in the moment, you can be like, oh well, I know what they called him on the website, so I'll just call him Fololonaton and have fun with it. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Fololonaton.
Fololonaton.
He is one of my favorites.
Oh, Grey
Assault.
That's the one. That's the.
It's only $20 as well. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's getting ordered. Oh, $20 has to come from the States. Going to pay import tax on that.
No, you won't. You'll be fine.
Watch him just add to cart right now.
I would if I knew where the cart was. Oh, there it is. There. That's the cart. Go back out.
Oopsie. Right.
Oh my goodness, that was only one section of sci-fi.
Yeah. So, well, the next 2 are quite small. So, porkers.
Is that Hogs of War stuff?
You'd be not surprised to learn it is just German pigs. Is what it is.
There you go, German pigs.
Yep. Not sure how I feel about that.
But reminds me of the, as I say, Hogs of War, that awesome PlayStation game. I think it was on PC as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it'll be coming to my house fairly soon on board game version.
Rick Mail.
Rick Mail did
doing all the
voices,
voicing for it. Yeah, it was really cool.
Although that was World War One, these are more World War II.
Yeah. Those are awesome. I really like those.
Yeah, they're also 50 mil. I'd like to point out. So if you want to play Flames of War,
oh my god,
just saying. I'm not saying at some point Warren may want to resurrect his.
How do you fancy making a Flames of War project with 50 mil piggy Germans?
I'm unsure how to respond to that, Ben.
Those are neat, like those. Very cool. And there's a mix of different weapon types and stuff in there as well. So you can make quite a nice varied squad, which is cool.
Yeah. So, now you are stuck with infantry platoons, pigs, but a tank's a tank.
Also, just cut the legs off.
They've got the tank crew. Oh, that's nice.
Or just cut the legs off one of the guys and stick it on the guy with the pistol and stick it on the top. There you go.
I completely missed the tank crews.
What you need to do is
slipping in my old age.
cut the tops off, and then get some tank riders, and then stick them on. You can have them riding around on your tanks as well.
If you want to go back to the sci-fi bit and have a look at Cami Teal, because there's 2 factions in here.
Okay.
They are 28mm, Oriental themed space foxes.
Space foxes.
You know, again, what was that? There was like a Star Fox game, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I imagine this is what the world looks like when it's not zipping around in some sort of rendered 3D pizza pie.
Also, again, very much kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon style vibe.
It's funny you say that. When we hit the next one, which is more cat-based.
Oh.
And there's a set of them on bikes, and it says, if you don't get there in 30 minutes, it's free. And all I can think of is Samurai Pizza Cats. I'm assuming that's completely unintentional. But these, obviously, most of them look like they are more feudalistic Japanese, but then you will hit some later on that have got like sort of big gun type
laser
things.
guns and stuff.
Yeah.
I like those with the cool masks on as well.
Yeah, the
Kabuki mask.
Kabuki mask, yep.
Yeah. Very nice.
That's how you know you've done messed up. When the Kabuki mask wearing temple cannoneers come to laser you off the tabletop and set their Firefox on you. I'm assuming that's
and all 28mm again as well.
These are all 28s.
Perfectly fitting for a lot of different games out there, which is cool. So
yeah, and then the Suka are your Samurai Pizza Cats, who are very more hard sci-fi.
Ooh.
Oh my days.
Yeah, those are cool.
Cat mechs, biker cats.
Biker cats from Mars. Mixing everything together.
Yep. Across all the streams.
Yeah. I like those. Those are nice. Again, very sort of like good as an alternative if you're playing basically any skirmishy game on the tabletop and you want to just throw something in.
The sculpting style is just very charming.
It is, yeah.
Are these tickling your anthropomorphic bone then, Ben?
They are.
They've all got thumbs, probably.
Total catnip, huh?
Yes.
You had to think about that, Ben.
Yeah.
We'll leave Storm of Steel and the aphids at the bottom. People can explore those on their own. One of them is 15mm, I think, the aphid one. But if we have a look at Qua, the World War I Anteaters, and again,
wow,
rulebooks are available. There's also a 6mm version if you want to play massed World War I battles with your Qua Anteaters. It is a different world. It's an extreme world. It's a world of Anteater on Anteater violence.
I was going to say, are the Anteaters on both sides? But okay.
Yeah,
cool, right.
all of the, if you go into the 28mm part rather than the 6mm one, you can see the various factions. So it's just Anteaters. This world is just these things. And again, obviously perfect for their own game, but for people who are getting into things like Turnip 28 Sludge, at the moment,
perfect.
Imagine being have at by a set of these, because you have that sort of mixture of almost borderline sort of 19th century warfare.
Yeah.
You've got the early 20th century as well, so you have some machine guns and that sort of thing. But they just look amazing. Obviously, website design is perfect. I can see
so
Lloyd's
easy to get around, isn't it?
Eyes twitching every time.
Hey, it was good in the early 2000s. It's good now.
Yep.
So, yeah. I really like those.
Yeah, I like the fact that it looks like the Anteater from the Pink Panther. That's my favorite part of this.
Yeah.
Somebody has clearly been sitting at home going, why did nobody do more with blue Anteaters? There was a point in the 80s where it was very big, and then they just sort of went away. And I need to bring them back. And I'm going to do it by the medium of one of the most bloodiest industrialized battles ever seen.
The thing that's nice about those as well is because obviously, like, they have the animal qualities of them being Anteaters. But if you were playing something like 28 or Smog or whatever, is it Sludge, that was it. Yeah. You could just say that that's like roots inside a uniform, and then just turn it into like a living vegetable, basically.
I mean, you can paint that nose like a carrot or a turnip as much as you want.
Yeah.
Who's going to argue with you?
Exactly.
Not me.
Very nice.
Well, I might.
And there's a whole range of different like factions for this one as well.
Yeah, every major power on the planet of Qua is represented, and they all have their own distinct feel. So there are obviously similarities from the sort of Tommies to the Austro-Hungarians and
Warriors of
Russians
Wales,
and that sort of thing. Gwent.
Yeah,
Maybe they're just big. I mean, look at those. They scream sludge.
Yeah,
Maybe they're just fans of that card game from The Witcher.
Gwent. Yeah. Gwent. We like this so much. We're going to fight for it.
Yeah.
I love those ones. So, yeah, the Fidwog. That guy with the gun, the machine
Vickers
gun,
and
the Vickers, the feed across,
and the
that's
feed
really
across
cool.
the other arm,
very nice.
Look at this.
What have you bought to your Blood and Valor games? I've bought an army of Anteaters. Are they historic accurate? They are on Qua.
I think you'll find. I think Rufus and Kai would come and visit. I'd give you a hearty handshake because I simply would enjoy that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, and then obviously they've added the vehicles in. You get much more of it in the 6mm where they can really explore what a Quarian land ship looks like, because that's what you need.
I think I'm very much sold on both this and the War of the Ashes stuff. I think that's really neat. Yeah. Very cool.
Could totally nick that and put it in something else, though, that land ship. Because it's 28, isn't it? 28.
That one's a 28, yeah.
You could add it into your army that you've been building, Lloyd. That would be a perfect fit.
Think about it, yeah. Good. And the rest of the 6mm range is the same as what we've just looked at. And it's only smaller.
Just shrunkener. Before we disappear completely from ZombieSmith, have a look at Gary Hunt,
who could be an indie all of his own in many ways. Yeah.
Could be. So Beast Wars is a adaptation of the Shield Wall or Shield Bash rules, but there are some stunning bits in here, including a couple of really, really, really nice dragons. So again, you can get the rules adaptation or rule set as it is for free. But in this, you've got your various sort of factions that have some really compelling things. The Glendians, is that what are they called? Geldians? Galadins?
Yeah, Galadans, yeah. Kind of like baboon-y type
baboon type monsters, which is really good if you want to have a strange set of primitive aliens. Because, you land on a planet and they come heaving into your line of sight. You would start racing back.
Individuals listed? Because this is a starter set, but they just have this one pick.
Gary Hunt has his own website, if you...
Well, the reason I want to have a quick look at him here is because there are also custom services, which the reason Gary's on this site is ZombieSmith casts his stuff. And if people are interested in getting their own miniature range actually produced, he does 3D printing and will also do metal casting of 3D prints that you've designed as well.
Very nice.
So somebody obviously like Gary has got his stuff done through ZombieSmith, and the quality is there. I think recently they've also started a STL Patreon as well, so we've seen some of those kicking around.
Nice.
So we may have to revisit that in the future as a 3D print type thing.
Because Gary Hunt's the guy from Weta, isn't he? He worked at Weta on the Lord of the Rings and stuff.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I gotta say, I like the baboon stuff.
It is nice.
It's very cool.
If you skip on to definitely the last page on that, see some of the big dragons.
Coming back to look at those.
Well, Lloyd's gonna buy those as well.
No, these are getting looked at. Look at this. Not a found them. Look at this.
It's like the Monkey King.
It's like Rafiki. It's in a very angry Rafiki.
That's because somebody stole his tiger cub he was planning on eating later. Yeah. Tiger, no lion.
Lion, well, whatever. Only in Kenya.
This is tribal. I love it. Dragons, you say?
Dragons, I say.
I am a big fan of dragons.
Next.
So there's one on page Raptors. 5, but there's also another one sitting on, I think, page 3. There's a black dragon fanging its wings. There's our Soul Destroyer demon. That's quite cute as well. There we go. Ignore the black dragon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very cool.
How much is that? $38. Ooh.
And a
Well, not that
respectable
long.
16-centimeter wingspan. That's good. That's bigly.
I opened them, so I'm gonna look at them. Oh yes, look at
Ninja satires.
that.
Like Maiden.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the film they're from. It'll come back to me at some point.
Another dragon. Oh, here we
Another
go.
dragon.
Oh, wow.
Fire Drake.
I like that. That is primed for like a vignette or a diorama. That is, yeah.
I also like
Well,
the
there
fact
you go.
that it fits on. I also like the fact it fits onto a small base, which is good if you're playing games. Because as nice as some huge dragons are, the fact that they take up half the table, or you can't put a miniature anywhere near them because their expansive wingspan overhangs the base, means game-wise they're a bit, naff.
It should be that it's well weighted enough that if you position it right on the base, it's not going to start tipping over. Or just, super glue some 2Ps underneath it or something.
Yeah, because I'm looking at that going, that needs to be weighted, surely.
Yeah. You can melt some lead into it. That's all fine.
Very nice. Very cool.
Not to be said for melting lead into things.
Sweet.
So there's a vast selection of different things on there.
Yep, and we didn't even get into the Napoleonics. We didn't get into the aphid 15 mil sci-fi stuff. There's a ton in there from ZombieSmith. And obviously there's the cuddly bear man who just wants to hug all the children.
And Alien Greys! Where's my credit card?
Right, folks. So that's enough of that indie for the week. And we're now going to move on and take a look at what's all new in the world of tabletop gaming.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
So we're back for some news from the world of tabletop gaming for us to dive into. We're going to be starting off with some news from the folks at Warlord Games. So they have returned to one of the games that I quite enjoy, called Blood Red Skies. So if you're interested in a little bit of sort of World War II dogfighting, this is definitely for you. They are coming back with pre-orders for a new starter set, which is going to take you not across the skies of Europe and France and Normandy and that such thing, but into the Pacific and exploring the fight between the US and the Japanese at the Battle of Midway, which I think is very, very awesome. So this new set comes with everything that you need in order to play the game. So you're going to get all your tokens, all your cards, all your widgets and everything that you need for that, including those really awesome little flying bases that have the kind of advantage and disadvantage things on them, which I think is really neat. But you also then, of course, get the wonderful miniatures. So you can see some painted versions of them in the article that we're looking through now, but you get some Mitsubishi A6 M20s, and you also get them going against the Grumman F4F Wildcats.
Which ones are we looking at? Are we still looking at these ones?
We're looking at the top ones. So that's what you get in the starter set there. So these have actually been done in coloured resin for the starter set. So the US come in blue, and the Japanese come in white/cream, according to their info from Warlord, which is pretty awesome. So you don't even have to get painting if you don't want to. But if you do want to get painting, I would recommend going to check out our Blood Red Skies content on the website, because we have some very cool tutorials on how to do things like pin washing and painting lots of these different planes. So
I like these a lot.
They are very nice.
I like the fact there's a mega big pictures. Hey, 5 stars there. Look at that. Look at the size of these pictures.
I find you only thy best.
But I can't help it. See, when I see
find postage stamp ones for you for next week. Being spoiled now.
See, when I see the silhouette of the airplane, I can't help but think about the little foam ones that you used to buy.
Plug them together. Oh, I remember those.
Oh.
Used to get them from Cosford all the time. They were really cool.
They were amazing. You can still get them.
You can.
You'd be surprised how cheap they are these days, Lloyd.
If only they did little tiny versions.
Well, maybe there's a gap in the market you can move into.
Very true.
It's nice to see a major naval engagement being the focus for an aircraft battle game.
Yep.
Yeah.
which
This is
seems
what
really weird, but makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
This was the information I'd been trying to get out of Warlord when we were at UK Games Expo, because they kept saying, "Oh, there's something coming," and I was like, "It's Blood Red Skies, isn't it?" And they're like, "Yeah, but no, yeah, but no." And I'm like, "Oh, go on, just say it." And they kind of said off camera to me, they were like, "It's got Hellcats in it," and I was like, "Oh,
Very
it's
nice.
it's Pacific then." And they just sort of glared at me, and went, "Yes, but don't tell anyone."
1/200th scale. This is ship battles sort of thing. Could you buy 1/200th scale ships?
You
to
can,
have
Lloyd.
Are we talking
let's 1/200 scale ships are kind of like you're measuring in feet. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
It would totally be awesome.
The local hobby shop up here, Lloyd, has a 1/200 scale USS Hornet aircraft carrier.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
But you don't want it. They're too big.
It becomes your game.
Yeah.
The problem is there'll be no easy build kits because they're all built. They're made for super into it modelers. So there'll be complicated kits, and you open it up, and there's like a billion bits screaming at you at once, and you're going, crap.
It'll have all the bits where they store all the aircraft underneath underneath the deck. Yeah.
Although you could combo it up with Cruel Seas, because they released the Japanese Navy for Cruel Seas recently, and they've gone very Pacific now. I think about it, because the latest Bolt Action box set is also Pacific.
What about the island hopping stuff?
Yeah.
Which I think is about time.
Yeah.
That a lot of Pacific stuff came out. I mean, a big theater of war, what the heck? Needs more coverage, peeps.
Yeah. It's
what do you mean by that, though? Do you mean have like a separate ship battle going on, and then have a thing that represents the aircraft doing dogfighting?
Do the full combined arms. You've got you could do your Midway and your Solomon campaign stuff for your games with the Blood Red Skies, and then depending on who comes off worst there, obviously one side will have more air superiority, which then could have an impact on your land-based or indeed your sea. At Midway, the Japanese pretty much lost every carrier they had, or if not all of them, the majority of the carriers they had, which meant
lost 4 of them, didn't they?
4.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I think they only had 6 or 7. So they lost a substantial part of their might right there, which then led to the Americans being able to sort of subsume the Pacific and start pushing further and further in. So you could have all of these, you could build a really nice narrative campaign around the Pacific theater and have one game interact and reflect the next game simply by the outcome of it, and see whether or not you end up with a historical refight of the Pacific campaign, or if things swing majorly in one direction or the other.
Sweet. I love the art style as well.
It's really nice. Yeah, it looks like the old kind of like manuals and stuff, which is cool. Yeah.
The art style has been consistently great with Blood Red Skies, and I've also noticed they're actually including water slide transfers in this box.
Oh, nice.
Oh yes, there.
Which is a major step up from the Battle of Britain one, which had nothing apart from stickers, I think.
Oh, that's right. They had stickers. You were painting your own or sticking stickers on.
Yeah. So, in addition to the start set, which you're looking at there, they're also going to be doing 4 expansion boxes for this at launch. So you're going to get 2 for the US and 2 for the Japanese. So you've got the Douglas Dauntless and Devastator Squadron, which is pretty cool. And you also get the F6X Hellcat Squadron as well. And then for the Japanese side, we've got the Nakajima KI-43-2 Squadron and the Achi D3A and Nakajima B5N Squadron. So if you like your numbers and letters, they have got you sorted. But there's plenty of fighter planes there for you to play out, kind of like mixed squadrons if you want to, and basically make the squadron of your dreams in many respects, to fight out some historical battles, or maybe something of a what if, perhaps. Maybe if things changed and went differently at the Battle of Midway, maybe that would be an interesting campaign to explore. I think one of the cool things about Blood Red Skies, I think I was reading this right in the info, is that you can play out just normal dogfights and stuff, but a lot of the time they try and focus in on the idea of playing more kind of like objective based stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all about trying to achieve a certain objective rather than just shoot down the other planes, which I think is cool. So
yeah, it makes an awful lot of sense. Dogfighting wasn't quite as prevalent as we all imagined it was.
As the movies say.
Yeah, they were going up for a reason, and people were either being sent up to protect or to take out the sort of the bombers that were coming in. So having the fighter and bomber mixes make a lot of sense. And if you've got a target of the opponent's fleet and you're attempting to take those out with the bombers, then it makes a much more interesting game than people just doing Benny Hill loop the loop around the table trying to catch your opponent constantly.
I think that's what the Battle of Britain box kind of did a bit too much. It was more focused on just the dogfighting element of it.
Yeah.
But the Battle of Britain, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
Let's save Britain from the Luftwaffe, and it's dogfight after dogfight after dogfight after dogfight. And it's interesting to see then that the Pacific can give you an airplane game that doesn't necessarily have you doing the same missions as you'd be doing in the European theater. It's a different style of play.
So yeah, if you're interested in picking up Blood Red Skies, that's available to pre-order right now, and it'll be available later in the year, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, and I would imagine we're going to be seeing them doing a lot more releases for this in the coming months after the release of the starter set, because you tend to get sort of ace pilot boxes and stuff, which come with named character cards and stuff that are based on notable pilots from the period. So that'll be very, very cool. So yeah.
What's up next then?
So next up, we're going to be diving into the world of Games Workshop, because this week Warhammer Plus was released unto the masses. It has had some teething problems.
The masses that could log in, you mean?
The masses that could log in have been granted clemency by the Omnissiah, but everyone else, no.
Did you at least manage to give them your money, John?
No.
No, well, then don't worry so much about it. I'd be more annoyed if I give them money and I couldn't log in.
I will point out just a quick sort of PSA to begin with. They said that you get this £10 voucher if you sign on during the first week. Yep. You have to be subscribed until the end of September, so you have to at least have paid for 1 month of it before you get that. So don't think you're going to get away with a lovely £10 voucher this week, as I thought I was. But anyway, so I have delved deep into Warhammer Plus, and I've watched everything they have to offer, which you couldn't normally say about a streaming service, but there you go. So available right away, you have 3 episodes of the Warhammer animated anthology, which is Hammer and Bolter. One of these, which was actually previewed for 24 hours last week, which is the Old Baelai episode. I've watched these, and I think I prefer these to Angels of Death, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I really like the art style, and I know it's not going to be for everyone. A lot of people have said that it feels quite slow and methodical, but I've watched Castlevania, and that's quite slow and methodical. And weirdly enough, the animation style kind of reminds me of an old BBC Two show called Monkey Dust, which was very weird and very almost static in its presentation. Monkey Dust? Yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember that, Jerry? Oh, wow, okay. You need to check it out. It's very good.
After my time, I feel.
I very much enjoyed the Hammer and Bolter series so far. It's been a very interesting look at kind of like the background to the Imperium. So like the first 2 episodes are very much focused around, I think one of the first ones like about an Inquisitor who's trying to work out the Emperor's tarot and try and find out what is going to cause his death, and it's very, very cool and resolves itself quite nicely.
Let's see where you left off, Ben.
Yeah. as you subsume my membership. So they
change it to Espanol.
Can you guys hear it?
No, none of us can hear it.
No. So, like, as you can see, like, the art style is very unique, I'd say. I personally, as I say, like it, but it'll very much come down to personal opinion on all of these things, I think.
I'm going to say something real quick. The animation of this already looks far better than the old BLI episode that they put out as their, we want to sell this thing to you. Mm-hmm. Because old BLI, by comparison in animation quality, was rubbish.
Yeah, I thought Old Baelai felt like something that was from YouTube, if you know what I mean. Whereas these feel like they've been tailor-made as episodes, like full episodes with an interesting narrative and things like that. But yeah, like this one was particularly nice. Maybe look away from the screen for some of these bits because you will see spoilers at some points during those. But
that's enough of that.
Yeah, the second one's all about like an imperial acolyte who has to relentlessly count books within an imperial library, and it has a very interesting twist. It's, as I say, these are very slow burns. I think there's going to be some more stuff later on where I think they've got one with like a Space Wolf scout and stuff in it, which I think sounds pretty cool. But it'll be really to see what they do when things get a little bit more frenetic. Obviously, you saw an assassin in that first one there, but
I was more impressed that there was a Deptus Arbites in the classic armor in the background than anything else in the foreground.
And there are some nice little Easter eggs in some of these where you see like, oh, that's something that used to be a model like 10 years ago.
Well, that's it, because all I can think is, will some people even know what's on screen?
Yeah.
Because they've not been referenced in years.
Yeah. And are all of the different episodes of things all sort of different animation styles then?
So they have Hammer and Bolter, which is all done in that particular style, and that's going to be an animated anthology. Why is it? It keeps coming up with lots of pop-ups for you.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
So that's going to be, I think it's 8 episodes, and then I assume they're going to do more. Otherwise, I would feel a bit stilted. But this one is Angels of Death, which is also by a different animation studio. Now, I came into Angels of Death from the perspective of someone who was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I'm still not overly sold on the animation style for this. I think the CGI feels a little like stiff, but I will commend the voice acting is incredible. Obviously you can't hear it. The voice acting is incredible. I think the story and like the script is great, and the music is very, very atmospheric. So I'm going to stick with it and see how it goes. But
I like the art style. This, they've zeroed in it. We'll do this monochrome look.
Yeah, they're like kind of blood and chrome style of sort of like a Mad Max or something.
Like Sin City.
Yeah, it's like Sin City.
Occasional flash of color.
Yeah, but like I really like all the characters. I'm very intrigued by the characters. You know, a lot of the time you'll see Spacemen, you'll think, oh, they're just cookie cutter characters or something. Yep. But I'm particularly sold on the characters for this. I think they're really cool.
I mean, I've been looking forward to Angels of Death because it was from it was Richard Boylan, the one that did the Hell's Reach animation on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was Hell's Reach, the Hell's Reach animation that basically got him into GW to work on it. So
when do the next episodes come in? Is it weekly or monthly, or what is it?
So they've said that what's going to happen from this point on is that every Wednesday, hopefully, there'll be a new episode of Angels of Death and a new episode of Hammer and Bolter. And then every Wednesday, you're also going to get, and we'll look at that in a second now, a new episode of Battle Report and a new episode of Citadel Masterclass. So they're the other two kind of like in-house shows they've been doing. Yeah. So if we go back to that.
Is there a roadmap of when they run out? Because you say there's 8 episodes of this. Is there a roadmap of what's happening 8 weeks from now?
No idea. But they have a whole bunch of animation studios on board with them and individuals. So I would assume they're going to keep things churning out.
You've got Astartes 2 coming to Warhammer Plus. You've got the Exodite, which is the Tau centric animation that was teased on YouTube. They were brought on board as well. So there's at least 2 to 3 other show types.
They have the Ultramarines film.
No one cares about that.
That's been expunged from the records, I think.
Redacted,
yeah, in true Imperial fashion. So the next one I think we'll look at is the Citadel Masterclass stuff, because I wasn't sure about this because I don't tend to watch a lot of. Sorry, John, tend to watch a lot of painting videos. But this one was quite nice because I thought these were going to be kind of like
they already put out.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
But in actual fact, they're very well presented. I think they're presented. I think it's Louise Sugden who does these. I think has done a really good job on presenting them, and they show off the techniques in a really good way. So the wet blending thing is very fascinating because they something like go through and sort of like show the basics of it and the color theory, and then they show it off on a couple of different pieces as well, which I think is quite nice. The face painting one, I don't think I would ever attempt it, but it is impressive to be like, if you want to take things to the next level, if you're doing like a golden demon or something, I think it gives you a lot of tips and tricks for doing stuff. So yeah, and they come in at kind of like sub 20 minutes, both of these. So they're not too bad. I think I think this is gonna stick to basically everything for Warhammer Plus. If you're already in the Warhammer hobby, I think this has been made for you effectively. Because, say for example, you look at other streaming services like Netflix or Disney Plus and that kind of thing. Even if you're not tied to a particular Netflix property, you can still watch loads of other things. With this, I think you're very much tied into, I play Games Workshop, I play Warhammer. I like the lore, the background, the armies, the art, everything like that. I think that's going to be the main draw for a lot of people to this. They're already sucked into it, and they're going to continue. But yeah, some very interesting stuff in this little masterclass that I think is well worth taking a look at, and I'll be interested to see what they do in future videos for that. The other side of the kind of their in-house shows is Battle Report. So Battle Report, again, these are like, I thought these were going to be like massively sprawling battle reports. The best one's the 40k one. They come in like an hour, which I think is pretty good. They set things up to begin with, where they kind of like detail both the armies and tell you what they've picked. And then they actually play out the game in its entirety, more or less, but with some very heavy editing. So there's lots of like cuts, there's lots of effects and all sorts of different things. If you got to like halfway through the video, you'll probably get a better look at kind of like what's going on. And they also do cutaways to the presenters or the gamers explaining what's happening. The 40k one I thought was really good, which is weird for me because I'm more of a fantasy person. And the Age of Sigmar one felt a little bit, I mean, it sounds rude to say boring, but I was a bit bored by about halfway through. The 40k one had a lot more to it. Maybe it's just because they were using the kind of starter contents from the Dominion box for Age of Sigmar, but I guess they've done that because, that's new and fancy and shiny. But yeah, I thought both presenters were really good. I think Patrick, who's the new guy with the big beard, lovely big beard, he's pretty good. He knows his stuff. So it definitely seems like they've put together a really interesting kind of showcase of what both of their main games are like. The thing that I'd really like to see them do, and they have said that they're open to comments and stuff, is I'd like to see them do more of their smaller games. So I'd like to see things like Warcry and Kill Team and that kind of thing, because they're the things that are going to draw people into those smaller specialist games as well. One thing I should note actually before we move off, kind of move too far away from the animations and stuff, is I really wish that they don't have credits at the end of these. Now, obviously, like for example, John knew who created the Angels of Death one, which is fantastic, right? But a lot of people won't know the animation studios or the people who animated the episodes, who did the voice acting, who did the script writing. I'd love for that to have been included, because currently it's just by the Warhammer Storyforge, which is fine, I guess. But it would be. But I really like the idea that it could be like, oh my God, that guy's a really awesome voice actor. I really like what he did for that character. I hope he comes back in more stuff.
There's a bit too much of a focus in Games Workshop in general of the team.
Yeah,
it's just the design team, the cinematic team, the this, that, and the other. It's not about individuals anymore. They don't want names out there.
We are the collective.
It's the board.
It's the board.
Yeah. So like effectively that's everything that you get as part of Warhammer TV anyway. I'd say for an initial showing, not too bad. There is definitely room for improvement. There are some really weird sort of audio quality issues. This is Lloyd speaking in my head. There are some audio issues with the battle reports that I think they'll obviously tweak probably later on down the line. But other than that, I quite enjoyed a lot of what they had. As someone who has obviously played Warhammer in the past and grown up with the Warhammer hobby, it was pretty cool. I don't think it's enough quite yet to draw somebody in who's maybe not as big of a fan of Games Workshop stuff.
It'll be interesting to see if the battle reports feel like value to money for people, because when you're talking about battle reports and how to plays and stuff, 40k is probably the most popular thing on YouTube.
Yep.
There are tons and tons of channels that do 40k battle reports, and a lot of them do them to very high quality.
What I think we'll probably find is some of the aspects that are good in the Warhammer Plus ones making their way to other YouTubers.
Well, I think other YouTubers are already doing stuff that's probably just as good.
We could name 3 or 4 YouTubers that are doing really good battle reports currently. So
it'll be interesting. I can see like this is the battle that the Games Workshop have on their hands here, is because their hobby range is so popular. There's just so much content being produced on YouTube for essentially free, like all those paint tutorials and things like that, wet blending and things like that. They've got this.
They exist. Yep,
they have this hard topic of, can we sell this to you even though you can go and essentially watch this for free at various levels of quality on YouTube?
Yeah.
What's the price like?
So it was $4.99 per month or $49.99 for a year, which gets you a month free.
Get you a month or 2 months free and a miniature.
And a miniature.
Well, it lets you pick a miniature.
Yeah.
So
which you don't get until the end of your yearly subscription.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I think you have to look at it that people aren't going to be subscribing to this for the hobby content.
Yeah,
that's a bonus.
Yep.
People are subscribing to this for the
animations
and the app,
the storytelling,
and then the army list builder things. They have.
Yes,
you get both of those. Yeah, which you're currently paying about that price for anyway.
Yeah, so the 40k app. I'm going to try and bring it up on my phone and show it to you guys. So I just go to...
So if people are already subscribing for an army list builder off them...
Which is the same price.
The same price, then you're getting everything else for free. That's just filler there too.
Yeah. So they have retweaked this. I don't know if you can see that on my phone.
I certainly see something.
Yeah. So they have tweaked and changed the app so that it's a lot more responsive and stuff. So a lot of people have been using this to build their armies anyway. And as Jerry was saying, for the same price, you now get all the additional content. So very effectively, if you're already like involved in Games Workshop and Warhammer, this has been made for you. I think it will become more of a wide-reaching kind of idea. I'd say within a year's time, when we actually look back at the content and see how much of it is there. And that would, for me, I would say that if you are already invested in Warhammer and you play 40k or Age of Sigmar or any of their other games, then probably a good idea to pick this up. If you're not, if you're like maybe on the fringes thinking, do I bother with this? I'd wait, personally.
On that topic of waiting, do the episodes come and go, or are they going to build up a library that just stays there?
I would assume they're going to build up a library that will stay there. Otherwise, that would defeat the object of them having a kind of like a repository of stuff. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's Games Workshop, guys. But
yeah, so if you have disposable income, you can jump in, and if you don't have so much disposable income, wait a bit.
Yeah,
and then there would be more content you could watch while logged in for 2 months or whatever it is.
So the other thing they have, and this is the kind of thing that I assume is like their massive added value thing that they've built onto this as well. Again, very much if you're already involved in Games Workshop and Warhammer, is the Warhammer Vault. So currently, this doesn't have too much in there, but it's got kind of like, I think it's like 40, 50 issues of Old White Dwarfs from 2020 and their Warhammer Visions, if you remember that, which is their kind of weird failed experiment.
Do you have to go to somewhere else for Warhammer Vault? Then.
So warhammertv.com is the Warhammer TV, and then there should be a link in the running order to see it. But then Warhammer-Vault is where they have all the digital content, and you have to sign into each of those locations. Sorry, I hit the mic. If you want to get access to them. So the Warhammer Vault, as I say, has all those kind of older issues of White Dwarf that are obviously out of print, but they were readily available as PDFs, I would assume, which made this quite an easy add to their library.
Any sort of samples you can look at?
No, you have to be signed up to see it. So, but they also then obviously have some of those pre-existing books and stuff that were available as part of last edition's 40k. Mm-hmm. So they've got out of print material for rules and things. A lot of people have been saying, "Where's all my old White Dwarfs and things from like 10, 15 years ago?" And my response was, they probably didn't have those in PDF at the time.
Yeah. I can't imagine you'll see anything older than the most current crop of bits and pieces simply because of how the design layout went.
So I have logged in here. Let's see.
Hopefully you didn't dox me.
We can show like a couple of pages.
Yeah. So again, this is obviously a sound, and I don't believe they're downloadable, so you have to view them as part of this. So
you have to use a PDF thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh, that's a panel.
Yeah. And if you click on the Adobe thing, it just brings up the Adobe sign-in, which is weird. So you can't download them, as far as I'm aware. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't assume they would be. But yeah, so again, obviously very good if you're someone who is into Warhammer and has been reading White Dwarf and has maybe missed issue 462 from last year and really wants it for a particular article. This is very good. And I will doff my cap to them for those times where they've put specific rules in White Dwarfs and people want them.
Like chapter specific stuff or something.
Yeah. So if they've seen something for like a chapter approved or something, and that was really important for you playing Blood Angels, but you missed that White Dwarf, now you obviously have the ability to access that through the Warhammer Vault.
Yeah. It's a shame the image resolution isn't a bit higher though. They have downscaled. They've spat this out without going as proper print res. But I guess at a glance, if you don't zoom in too far, you're getting the White Dwarf experience at that point.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not too bad. We can complain, like it is come part of the service, so it's not like you just paid for that one item.
I was expecting this sort of stuff when Warhammer Plus came out. I thought it was going to be a like a one-stop shop thing, but apparently you're having to go to Warhammer Vault and all that rubbish, and it feels like they need to glue it together a bit more.
Well, speaking for somebody who does work on stuff that needs gluing together, it does take time to glue stuff together, especially if you don't know what it is in advance.
Yeah, I guess we're looking at it a couple of days after launch. So
what you may find is in a year or two, this doesn't resemble that. Maybe in a year or two, once they figure out, okay, so we're doing magazines here, we're doing the battle reports here, we're doing the Vault thing over here, or the apps thing over here. Maybe over time this might, because it is a shared username and password between these things.
Yeah.
Maybe over time this might migrate into more of a centralized thing. But the other reason they do that is they want to, like when you're doing services like this, you're trying to balance the load on servers between things. So keeping them sort of separate allows, if one thing gets affected by a server problem, you don't take the whole thing out.
To kind of like round things off, I'd say that if you're to give it some scores, because people love numbers, right? If you are a Warhammer fan already and you're playing Warhammer maybe every weekend, or like your kids are and they're going to Games Workshop and that kind of thing, I'd say this is probably an 8 out of 10. If you are new to the hobby or you're not really into Games Workshop, probably around a 6, I'd say, until things start to build up. The one thing that I think this is focused towards for them is this idea of Games Workshop having this very holistic approach to things. And we have talked about this before, where kind of like they want to be the people that will teach you how to paint their models, how to build their models, all this kind of thing, and give you the definitive, this is what Warhammer is, if you know what I mean. They want to be at that stage where they can turn to other places and be like, Mr. X on YouTube, they don't know what they're talking about with the lore. This is the lore. Obviously, that has its own problems, but
plus constantly having to delete videos.
Plus, we have to remember that Games Workshop is very family oriented. It's very, you're looking at 12-year-old kids and stuff coming into this hobby, because I've seen comments on our own website about the animation style saying it's very childish. I think I'm too old for this. And I was looking at the comment going, you probably are too old for it, because
you wait until one of the episodes where a guy gets cut in half.
Maybe because you have to temper that with, it's not maybe aimed specifically at you as an older person. You have to.
Art is subjective.
Yeah.
So there's animation styles that I love that look like they've been drawn by a 5-year-old with a crayon.
Yeah, that's why I say like
detracts nothing from the animation or the story.
So like as I say, for example, I really like the style of Hammer and Bolter, but a lot of other people won't. And like Old Bailey was, Old Bailey was very divisive. A lot of people didn't like it. We're same with Angels of Death. John really likes that style. I'm not so won over by it, but I like the voiceovers and stuff.
Anybody who grew up with Hanna-Barbera cartoons and things like that, where maybe only the eyes and mouth moved.
You've already watched the bottom of the barrel then at that point.
They were not the bottom of the barrel. They were amazing.
And just to circle back to the whole family thing orientation with Games Workshop, if they want to control the ecosphere that you're stepping into, the narrative, it's because they don't like. You could probably sit your kid down and watch a battle report there and not come across anything weird.
Well, they don't swear. Or,
you could watch something on YouTube and halfway through going, need to turn that off, or I need to skip this bit. They're swearing or whatnot.
Yeah. Also, because it's official, you should, I would assume, be able to watch the Games Workshop battle reports. I don't know enough about the rules, but you should be able to watch those and know they don't get it wrong. Which obviously in other YouTube Let's Play and stuff, they probably would. So
in theory, because we've had plenty of people coming through our studio who should know the rules to their own game, who don't know the rules to their own game. And that's part of the reason we like to have guests in the studio, is because, well, it's your game, you should know the rules, and therefore
we're not going to get it right.
We can give an accurate representation of this, but a lot of the time they don't know the rules.
But the main takeaway, I think, in my opinion on this, is that it's another step of Workshop trying to sell you a lifestyle. It's trying to sell you
that's what it is, yeah.
A hobby is a complete package, but at the same time, it's turning away a lot of the veteran fans, which I have a feeling they weren't really interested in serving anyway.
And from that lifestyle point of view, there's an aspect to this. I mentioned there's like loads of content on YouTube for Warhammer 40k and Games Workshop products, but the problem is you might be in the mood, I just want to do something hobby wise, and you'll sit down in front of YouTube and suddenly you're blasted with this spaceship takes off at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I built this mega rocket that blew crap up here and there. I did this. I've tried that, and nothing. None of it's to do with the hobby, and you're immediately getting distracted and having other stuff. Watch me. Whereas you could log into this and not have such a bombardment of stuff coming at you that isn't what you actually sat down to be in the mindset of watching or doing.
Yeah, to as I say, to round things off, I guess, for Warhammer Plus stuff.
Please do.
I think that as an initial week's launch, fairly good, bar some technical issues across the board for a lot of people. But I think the real test is going to be in, say, a year's time, when we've got a larger library of stuff, whether or not that has been enough to keep people on board for that, for the whole run, I guess you'd say.
It'll be like Netflix. We'll never know.
Yeah.
They will never announce their subscriber numbers.
Netflix, do you not mean the place you go to watch The Witcher stuff?
but they never announce subscriber numbers, so nobody ever knows how well Netflix is doing. It's always guesswork, and Warhammer Plus will be exactly the same. They could take a bath on it, but they'll keep it running to maintain the body of work. But moving away from Warhamster Plus, but staying with Games Workshop, Ben.
Yes, because I love myself some Middle Earth. And last weekend was Ardacon, just to give those guys a little bit of a shout out. So this was the big international Middle Earth event that's held in Manchester by a plucky group of individuals who bring together people from all over the world to play one of the best miniatures games ever, according to me.
Saga.
The Lord of the Rings, or the Middle Earth strategy battle game. But at this event, they also had some folks from Games Workshop and the specialist studios over there showing off some new miniatures that are going to be coming out for the Middle Earth battle game in the next few months. So we start off with a look at the new plastic miniature for the Witch King of Angmar. So a lot of people will remember that in the last, I think it was last year, maybe the year before that, time has flown. There was a really awesome Gandalf the White on the back of Shadowfax with Pippin by his side.
The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Additional bonus Hobbit.
Bonus Hobbit.
Not necessary.
And now they have presented a new plastic version of the Witch King of Angmar, which I think is pretty awesome. Comes with a couple of different options there. So you can have him with just his hood up for a little bit of weathertop action, or you can have him storming the gates of Minas Tirith with his armies as the full Witch King guise, with the helm of Angmar on his head, sword and flail at the ready, about to fight Eowyn in the fields of Pelennor. But very cool plastic miniature. Looks very awesome. I'm sure a lot of people are picking that up. I did have a look at some Ring Race on the Games Workshop web store because I was like, ooh, this would be nice. Maybe I should pick up some Ring Race. They're all in Finecast.
No.
So they're all going to have bendy swords.
Give them time. They'll be replaced.
I really hope so, because I want some. But anyway, in addition to that, we also had some new terrain that was featured. So the first of these is a new resin piece from the folks at Forge World. So it's going to cost you a fair bit of moolah. So this is obviously the, I can't remember what it's called now, the seat of the Watcher's Seat, I think it is, at Amon Hen. Oh, God, I feel bad now. But so this is the place, obviously, where Aragorn took on an entire warband of Uruk-hai by himself before being joined by Legolas and Gimli at the breaking of the Fellowship. At the end of
I like how you focus on that. Whereas we're all, in our heads, we're all focusing on Boromir being pincushioned.
I was about to get to that. I thought
you were being too good, too hopeful, too positive. The Fellowship is half full.
Yeah, the breaking of the Fellowship. Yes, so obviously you could play out the full ambush of Amon Hen scenarios. Although they did break that down in the Quest for the Ring Bearer book, which I thought was really cool. So you could play separate scenarios, which is pretty neat. Yeah. So you can do that. They've also got another piece of terrain which is actually going to be available in plastic. So this is more sort of akin to the kind of stuff they did for the War in Rohan supplement. So you'll be able to build a modular Dol Guldur set. So all of the different pieces can be assembled in various ways for you to make an entire ruin of Dol Guldur for the Necromancer in the
Wonder
woods.
Woman.
So yeah.
Sorry, that's Gal Gadot. That was so close.
Dol Guldur, Gal Gadot. Yeah,
That's
again,
interesting.
there you go. Yeah.
That's interesting that they've done that modular. Actually,
Yes,
I
it
was
is
looking
very-
at this, and it's a nice
it
bit
is
of
nice,
just
yeah.
generic fantasy kit.
Very much so.
And the fact that you can play around with how you assemble it means a couple of kits worth. You could do some interesting things.
So you wouldn't necessarily have to use it for Dol Guldur either, because you
No.
could use it for any basically evil fortress in the world of Middle Earth, and it would work perfectly fine. Because obviously,
Well,
the
you could
architect-
use it for any evil fortress in any fantasy
any
game.
Oh well,
fantasy
yeah.
But I mean, they've gone very light on the skulls
Yes. Yeah.
for once.
Yeah.
And all those skull edges could just be nipped off.
Oh yeah. Assuming they're not a separate bag that you just glue on. I mean, that just looks like it should have goblins screaming out of it.
Exactly.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah. So yeah,
Or
pretty awesome.
Anteaters in blue,
Anteaters.
Yeah.
peering out from behind the pillars at you.
A couple of Muppets coming at you like Cleopatra. It's all there.
So this particular piece of terrain ties into one of their supplement books, which is going to be available, which is called The Fall of the Necromancer. So this is similar to their previous scenario style books. Will contain everything that you need to play out effectively the story of Dol Guldur.
Mhm.
So it'll start with its formation and its capture by Sauron back in the day when he became the Necromancer, and it will flow all the way through to the final fight where the White Council banished him from Dol Guldur, and obviously then the events of the Lord of the Rings happened. So you'll be able to follow that through as an interesting through line. I think it's pretty awesome.
Sweet.
They're also going to be doing one extra book, which I wanted to mention, which was sort of teased at the end of their presentation on the Sunday, I think it was, which is the Defense of the North. Sorry. So this is going to dive into an element of the Lord of the Rings that isn't particularly well covered. So this is going to be covering King Dane Ironfoot and Thorin Stonehelm alongside the Men of Dale under King Brandon Bard II, fighting against the forces of Angmar in the north of Middle Earth, in Eriador and stuff, compared to everything else that was happening in the south. So you'll be able to play all of that out, and we have already seen previews for all those miniatures, which we have talked about in the show before. So it's very cool stuff there too.
Winter is coming.
I believe you want to do a shout out as well.
I do also want to do, yeah. So Ardacon, obviously, fantastic thing. So hopefully it's going to be back again next year, bigger and brighter than ever. But some of the people that are involved with kind of like the awesome community that is the strategy battle game community are behind SBG Magazine, which we have looked at previously as an Indie of the Week alongside a couple of other publications. So they're going to be bringing out a new issue of that magazine, which is available, will be available PDF in the near future, and will be available physically within the next couple of weeks, maybe a month. And they're going to be doing a little bit of a lockdown special from the last kind of year or so, where they're going to be fighting out the quest of the Ring Bearer from the Shire through to Rivendell, which sounds awesome, and I cannot wait.
Sweet.
That may have been one of the things that has been influencing me to buy more miniatures. So there we go.
Well, as long as you've got a reason behind it, that makes
Of course,
perfect sense.
yeah. Not just willy-nilly.
No.
No.
We're going to move on now and take a look at a board game. And this is, something perfect for people who are fans of cuddly bear mask wearing fellas giving hugs
Very much so,
with
yeah.
hatchets. And it's the last Friday, which is
Uh,
pay week normally.
So unfortunately, this last Friday has got a little bit of a bloody end to it.
Oh.
There's axes involved, unfortunately, here.
Like most
so-
paydays.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's true. This is from Ares Games, who have put together a remastered version of the last Friday board game. The original of this, I think, was a lot of people considered it very unbalanced. I mean, it is a kind of like killer versus a group of campers kind of thing. So in many ways, it already is. But this is going to be sort of tweaked and changed. So instead of it being sort of just like one game, they split it up into a number of different scenarios. And you'll play as the campers who get killed through those different scenarios.
Lovely.
But if you lose a character in one of the campaign sort of scenarios, you then play as a different one in the next one. So there's no sort of like elimination, which I think is pretty cool. And it kind of follows a through story. So every time you sit down to play it, maybe like Billy dies in campaign 1, or maybe he survives all the way to the end and gets a shotgun and blows the big guy's face off or something. But they've also tweaked and updated the graphics and the rules, which is pretty awesome. And they've put in some interesting twists to the mechanics as well. So it's a hidden movement game in many respects. So if you played something like Letters of Whitechapel, for example, it's a pretty good sort of like analogy to this, but it'll switch up between the killer trying to find out where all the campers are on the board in a hidden movement style game, and then it will flip to the campers being the hunters trying to get the killer before they can achieve their objective, which I think is really cool. So it kind of plays into that, obviously, very Friday the 13th style Halloween feel, and could be a pretty awesome one for those people that want to play a really cool board game over Halloween. Going to be available in, I think it's September, so not too long to go before that is going to be available. So yeah, pretty cool.
Happy days. So moving away from the destructive nature of killers at campsites, we're going to have a look at the destructive nature of industrial trade in Augusta.
Yes.
Or Mythos.
As a single tear rolls down the cheek. So yeah, this is the folks at Warcradle have put together a really awesome set of 28/32mm terrain for those people that want to build on their collection of stuff for Mythos, but could also be used for all manner of things. I picked this because it had train tracks in it.
Trainage.
Exactly. There's even a boxcar there too.
Oh, but it's even better. It's not just the trains. Like, this is nice. But look, they've got the wee carts to take the luggage and stuff over to the trains.
Very important. Otherwise, somebody just has to manually drag that and nobody's like, put your back out.
If you wanted one of those, where on earth would you get one? No, you don't.
So the Augusta industrial terrain set comes with a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, Lloyd's talked about the train tracks and things in there, but you've also got warehouses, ruined buildings, shelters, fences, trolleys and crates, as Lloyd said, benches, factories, crates, barrels, bins, and there's also a water tower, which seems like the perfect place to have a final clash with some epic bad guy. As I say, it's been designed for you to dive in and play Mythos with this. So you can imagine perhaps it's busy during the day, but during the night it becomes desolate and quiet. And instead the cultists find their way in and start performing profane rituals throughout the likes of the warehouses and stuff. And your team of investigators or whatever have been sent in to try and hunt them down and stop them. I think that could be a pretty awesome sort of
I really like the fact that they've gone with a mix of both wrecked and ruined, and a few sort of solid and intact bits and pieces there, because it will give itself to Mythos beautifully, but then 1920s gangster games,
very much so. Yeah,
even I suppose a lot of it would do the job for Wild West as well.
I think it would suit Wild West Exodus as well, because like it'll be scaled to Mythos, and I think Mythos is a similar
same scale
size miniatures and stuff to Wild West Exodus, and there's nothing in there that'll turn me off going, oh, it's a Western sort of environment. Because remember, during that period of Wild West Exodus, it isn't just the West. Like the other side of America was pretty well developed at that point, and it'll be even more developed because they got all this special gear.
That's very true. And, sometimes you just need what looks like a ruined saloon or massive train track.
I mean, look at this. Because
throw people off.
Because the cool thing about Wild West Exodus is it has greys as well. I can see this being full of greys, firing their plasma guns, trying to get me, and I'm jumping around going, I don't want to be abducted by you. Oh, it'll be amazing.
And only James Bond is there to stop them. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I think we've actually got that set in the studio.
Probably do.
We do.
So Justin's working on that at the moment for an unboxing. So if people want to see exactly how that looks, it'll be coming up, I think, once he gets everything glued together. So there's a lot of gluing. There's a lot in that box.
Is this coming off pre-order?
Yeah, so it's available to pre-order at this point.
Is that over at the Wayland site as well?
So you go up to Wayland Games, you'll be able to find it there.
So ignore that timer because we're filming in advance. So by the time you see this, we'll be in kind of close up of the train part.
Comes out on Saturday as well.
Lots of good stuff there.
Just ignore me. I want to have a look at the close-ups and stuff. Oh yeah.
It captured my eye because it reminded me of this is a very Midlands thing, captured me at the heart of the Black Country and all our desolate warehouses that we had. So there we go.
Sweet.
Reminds me of home.
That's a beautiful thought there. The desolation of home. Like the desolation of Smaug, but slightly more brummy.
The desolation of Sedgley. Yeah, there we go.
Speaking of brummy, people weren't excited about the idea of Lenny Henry being in this upcoming Lord of the Rings TV show?
The Lord of the Rings, but really not the Lord of the Rings.
I think you burst people's bubbles when you said Lenny Henry's going to be like, I could see the comments, but Lenny Henry's a crap actor.
I like Lenny Henry. My parents met him once when he was drunk outside an Indian. But anyway,
Nice.
So moving on to some more news from the folks at Atomic Mass Games. They have been heavily diving into Star Wars Legion over the last couple of weeks with their previews. They're going full mechanized, it seems, for the Clone Wars period, because this week was revealed some new kits that are coming out. We have the NRN99 Persuader class tank droid, which I think is an adorable name for something that's going to kill you, and also the infantry support platform for the clone troops of the Republic. So there you can see the NRN99 Persuader class tank droid, looking very cool with its little kind of almost Brum-like eyes on the front.
I remember them ploughing across the waves on Kashyyyk.
Exactly, yeah. And that is the main, and this also actually comes with some funky stuff. So it actually has tank riders. We were talking about those earlier. You'll have little battle droids that you can sit on the side of it, which I think is really cool. So as you're building this kit and putting it together, you can actually have them riding up off the beaches to fight some Wookiees on Kashyyyk. Alongside that,
It's great to see, because we've seen Yoda recently, so obviously they're leaning into the whole Kashyyyk war a lot more.
Very much so.
We haven't got Torfel yet, have we?
I don't think so. Although there may be a Torfel-looking Wookiee in one of their Wookiee sets. But you also got the infantry support platform, which is a new set for the Republic. It actually comes with a couple of different weapon options for the front of the vehicle, so you can decide how you want to lay down suppressive fire and that kind of thing. But it also comes with different head options for the troopers, so you can either have them with their sort of recon-style scout masks, or you can have them with traditional sort of Gen 1-2 style clone trooper helmets as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So you can play around with that and kind of like look towards the change in the status quo. Yeah,
I think there's a lot. I'd like to see a lot more of the stuff actually be multi-generation.
Yes, that would be cool. Yeah.
Because obviously there's going to be a cross section there where the clones from the Republic and the Empire are using the same kit. Yeah. And it wouldn't take much to include another set of cards and then just open up some more options.
Well, the obviously the Bad Batch has been out on Disney Plus recently, and that is very much centered around that period of the crossover between the Republic and the Empire becoming a thing. And they have a lot of stuff in there where there's a lot of the clone troopers are wearing different armor and different helmets and weapons and that kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely something that I think they'll do in the future. As I said, would be very awesome to see some Bad Batch miniatures, because there are plenty of people out there who are already doing them. But obviously, it would be cool to see them officially done by Atomic Mass as well. I just wanted to go back to something I don't think we covered because I think we were off that week. But we also had some additional stuff for this kind of Battle of Kashyyyk during the Clone Wars. So we also had a couple of new characters and some miniatures and stuff alongside some additional vehicles which are going to be added in. So you've got the Super Tactical Droid, which a lot of people who have watched the Clone Wars TV series will be very, very familiar with. Paint him in some black and gold and it'll look very resplendent. But yeah, if you want someone to lead your forces that's not a member of the Sith, then that's a cool option for you to dive into and have added to your collection. You've also got the IG-100 Magna Guards. So if you want to fight on the bridge of a Star Cruiser against a couple of Jedis, then they will be very cool. I've always liked the look of the Magna Guards, even though they never really were given much of a fair shout in the movie.
No, and they were really talked up in the book and the novelization. The whole point was that each one of them cost the equivalent of the GDP of a small planet. Because they were specifically built to take on Jedi. And as such, they were double hard so-and-sos. There's also
didn't last that long in the movie.
No. They came up against they came up against Obi-Wan, the very paragon of being a Jedi, and unfortunately his Sith apprentice. But they've got options that you don't see there, because I know they're coming with a rocket launcher and electro whip as well, so you can build them with their force staffs or shock staffs. And then there's also going to be the variants with the electro whip and with the big anti-tank gear as well. So plenty of options in there on hard plastic. It's nice to see more of the hard plastic stuff coming. Yeah, but it also slows down their production because the tooling on those is much more involved than the previous one. So when a Bad Batch comes out and it suddenly becomes a hit, the turnaround on that is it's like a massive boat in the middle of the Suez Canal. It's not exactly turning on a dime there.
Yeah. We also got a couple of new vehicles that were previewed a couple of weeks ago. So you got the DS-D1 Dwarf Spider Drone.
I love this thing.
So if you like goggly eyes on robots, once again, with your little brum features, then you can add this into the mix, which I think is really cool. Again, very familiar with a lot of people have seen like the fighting Kashyyyk. But I think were these on Geonosis as well?
They were on Geonosis.
They were on
Geonosis.
Geonosis. The bigger ones were on Geonosis. Mm-hmm. But people may remember these from Obi-Wan and Cody when they went to capture Grievous.
Oh, right.
There's a bit where you actually get a clone trooper jumps on top of one and fires the rifle straight into its head. Is it not? No, it's like Klaatu or something like that. They've got the Nikto with the people with the stripy faces.
Right. Yeah.
Clone, or was it droids? Level 13, thousands of them. Well, now's the time for warriors. Is he bringing anybody else? He didn't say. Just Obi-Wan being Obi-Wan. Yeah, so you get them shot in the back of the head.
You've also then got the Radal Nasp Fluttercraft, which will have been seen from a mere moment almost in the Clone Wars. Not in the Revenge of the Sith when they're fighting on Kashyyyk. So this is one that you see that very happy-looking Wookiee flying around as the wind blows his fur. As he guns down droids from a high vantage point.
It's a bit of a shame that that battle scene Kashyyyk could have been like one of the most epic battles ever, and it's glossed over in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was massive in Battlefront though.
It was.
Not these modern ones because I haven't played any of the modern ones, but when Battlefront came out, the Kashyyyk location, the Kashyyyk map was huge. And you really got into all of that nonsense there, and obviously just break out the Creedence Clearwater Revival and just start playing Fortunate Son as you're flying around the place.
But yeah, it's a really cool little collection of stuff they're doing with this. I really like that they're putting this extra effort into the mechanized element of the Clone Wars period, because this is one of the things that I think a lot of people look at. You've got the two different periods of Star Wars that they've been dealing with. In the Republic era, you've got lots of not Republic. In the Rebellion era, you've got loads of vehicles and stuff, but a lot more of it is kind of like ragtag bands of soldiers fighting against stormtroopers and that kind of thing. Whereas in the Clone Wars, each side had dozens of tanks and flyers and all sorts of different things. So it's nice to see that they're actually kind of like building on this to try and make Legion a little bit of a bigger game. I mean, I obviously quite like it as a smaller, more skirmishy thing, but I love that they've put this stuff in for those people that want to play out larger games on larger tables, which I think is cool.
We've one final bit of news taking us away from a galaxy a long time ago, but staying in space, and it is more stuff from Osprey and Stargrave.
Yeah, so next month sees the release of Quarantine 37, which is a supplement for Stargrave, which we talked about during Stargrave Week. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, you can go and watch our discussion with Joseph M. McCullough about that and dive into that. But it's A. McCullough. M is the Hewitt.
M's the Hewitt, yeah.
There we go. I've confused. Yeah. But so the guys over at North Star, who obviously do a lot of miniatures and stuff alongside Osprey for their games, have put together a bunch of pre-order bundles. So you can order the book, which comes with those two markers for you to use as loot tokens of the game. You've got a digital one and a physical one there. So for hacking and for stealing. And then you also have a couple of new metal bundles. So obviously, we've been talking about the idea of making fantastic crews of aliens and pirates and vagabonds and that kind of thing. These bundles allow you to dive in and effectively get a whole bunch of different characters that you could use for captains, first mates, specialists, or perhaps even NPCs that are trying to hunt down your group as you're playing the game, because you have the likes of like pirates showing up and all kinds of things like that. So they've got two bundles, one for those people that backed the previous mix starter for Stargrave, and one for those people that are new to the game. They are also doing 3 different sets of plague zombies. So you're going to have plague zombies, plague soldiers, and a big bloater plague zombie as well, which isn't pictured, unfortunately, because they haven't got them ready yet. But they're going to be available to pre-order ahead of the release of Quarantine 37 in September. So yeah, if you're interested in diving into Stargrave and fighting off against the undead in space, you'll have the option to do so.
If you've been interested in Stargrave, or if you've already been playing it, that book contains new powers, a couple of new classes. So you can be like an aristocrat, new soldiers as well, gunslingers and people like that, as well as a bunch of narrative mini campaigns, I think you would call them. They're like 5 to 6 scenario campaigns running throughout the Quarantine 37.
Very akin to the stuff they've done for like Oathmark then in
Yeah.
that regard.
Yeah, so you've got all these little chapters that build into a multi-part, multi-branching campaign over time. And it's not all space zombies. It could be alien bugs, or it could be nanotech. You never know what you're going to get. And in some cases, it's up to you as well. So interesting new rules and concepts to just sort of expand on what we already have for Stargrave. It's looking very, very nice, especially if people like to be chased through a dark ship in the middle of the night by a bug. If you're looking for that in your life, this game has got that. That wraps us up for the news for another week. And we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into some 3D printing. So we're back with 3D printing as the... I get told off whenever I say that word. And he beeps it out, apparently. I don't know what's wrong with to be perfectly honest. Anyway, this week we're going to be looking at Rocket Pig Games, which weirdly as a Patreon, I found ages ago, and it keeps bubbling in and out of my conscious because they do Kickstarters every now and again. Mm-hmm. And I found Christine's stuff when they were doing the first of their Monsters Kickstarters, but they started years ago with a cheap and cheerful way of doing dungeons and terrain for dungeon crawlers. And then from that, they went to very sort of basic and easy to print miniatures to populate your dungeons, especially at that stage. FDM was the order of the day, not resin. So they're a little low res in comparison to what you see an awful lot of these days. But if people are just still tinkering around with FDM printers, it's a great way to go. But they've not rested on their laurels, and they have released more and more stuff over time in a mixture of Kickstarters and patrons, and have been building a catalogue. I'd like to start where they started with their tile system.
I think so, yeah.
So Tilescape cool. Dungeon. The Gothic one is the one that Lloyd's going to love, but we're going to start with where they started.
This is cool.
Yeah. Which is a 3D or 2.5D if you're into your Warners and Walls dungeon setup where they have this substructure for your tiles that you can then sort of build together to make a modular affair when you're constructing your dungeon, so they can be put together any way, shape or form you want or need to. Mm-hmm. And within this, you obviously have your usual, tiles, walls, sconces, buttressing, but there's also some quirky things in there. And amongst your sort of rocky cavern floors and steps, there's a mimic floor, which is particularly nice because you rarely see a mimic floor.
Yeah.
Oh dear, you've walked down a corridor and your halfling scout at front has been eaten. What by? By the floor. I turn around and go the other way.
Where is it?
That's no way.
Oh, it'll be right. It'll be right down the bottom.
I'll open some things on my way.
Well, you do you. So things like you've got very steampunky bits in there as well. You see things like the sewer pipes and the pump systems and stuff like that, which is very good for Victoriana, for your Mythos, your Twisted and things like that, where you want some street urchins to be playing with a sewer golem. Put them in a sewer.
Could be good for Malifaux.
Yeah, Malifaux. Excellent.
Yeah.
And you can see there.
That's neat.
Ooh.
And because these are the earlier stuff, these are obviously they print very well on resin, but they were originally designed to be printable to a high degree on both the extruded FDM thingies and resin printers. So these are a little bit more low res than people are probably used to these days, but these are the very beginnings, the seed from which the massive oak tree has blossomed forth. Do you want to have a wee click on some other things in here before we move on?
Oh, here it is.
Because you'll get trapped forever in here.
That is awesome. I really like that.
It's so creepy.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You wouldn't set foot on that tile.
I don't know. It's strangely attractive.
I can't remember what tile you would step on. That would be less terrible. Imagine if you step on any of the diagonal ones, then you're going to just step on its eye and it will scream, at which point the floor is screaming.
That is terrifying.
Roll your sand. Obviously, all the incidentals, your treasure chests, your walls, doors, gateposts, guardhouses, tables, chairs. It's all there if you're looking to get into your dungeon crawling. But that's not what we want to focus on. I know you definitely want to see the Gothic City tilescape, because it's not just a dungeony tilescape. There are also terrain parts in here, and there's one in particular that I know somebody will spot.
This.
There we go. There's the old pepper. So sometimes you might need a more sinister looking train to put on your lovely train tracks in your Augusta. Run downtown, and here you have it. I mean, that thing screams steampunk and the Wild West.
Yeah.
How do you keep all those damn train robbers off your train with a massive gun turret on the back?
Yeah.
That's how you keep them off. Or you can imagine that, in a Wild West Exodus style. I'm trying to get through the Union lines, and I shall do it by gunning down everybody who comes near me with cannon.
Right. Oh, they got a station.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, this is why we're here. This is why I didn't want you to spend all the time on their very first little whimsical dungeon.
Oh, with a weird
they've moved on so much since then. So much.
Man, you can send your train through the Stargate.
Yeah. Well, very Malifaux-esque.
Yeah.
Because they have that whole other world. You go on the other side, harvest all around you, and then get out before things go terribly wrong. And the steamships and dockyards, it's a very comprehensive world.
I love the lighthouse is amazing.
Yeah. I was just
really
like that. Well.
Yeah. Oh
That's
my god.
so cool.
Rock Coast, although I like to
it's modular
rocks and goat
as well. So you can build it up in sections. Oh.
And all you need is a tiny Willem Dafoe model, and you're sorted. And Batman, whatever his name is,
Robert Pattinson. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. For all fans of Twilight, they should definitely check that out. Be all that you can be.
That's cool.
The ships.
Ships. I see no ships. All right, then I see a few ships. It's not a small build, but it could be it could be your entire gaming table if you wanted to be.
You could hinge it and open it like Sylvanian families.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And then put Birds and Bashes miniatures. And it actually is Sylvanian
It would
families.
be steampunk. Oh, my word.
Sylvanian families to the death.
Yeah.
But there are also little incidental pieces in here again. So you can populate that. You can have a stateroom filled with beds, all the accoutrement that the finest would demand. Likewise, you can have your church with a Gothic organ, or your buildings completely filled, the tavern with kegs and barrels of beer and all the rest, and even vomiting wall traps.
Because why not?
Well, if people are willing to go down a corridor, then they deserve to be vomited on by a wall trap. I'm just saying. There they are. See?
Do they have them in the non? Do they have them in the non-vomiting form? No, they don't.
I haven't noticed them, but at this point, Justin would say you just drop it into Blender.
That's true.
And then
cut it off. Yeah.
crop it out, and then swizzle your wob-wobs. I don't know.
That's what 3D printing is: swizzling wob-wobs.
Sure.
You do an easy 25-step plan according to Justin to make it better.
Yeah.
Sure, what's the problem? Why would you want them in a non-vomiting form? That's
because
so
they look great.
So your players don't know.
Yeah.
And then you could just swap out a section full of vomiting ones.
I'm going to walk down this corridor. All those statues are vomiting acid. I'm going to turn around. Bollocks.
Oh, you just magnetize your vomiting and non-vomiting ones.
That's true.
Swap them out.
Then your players are going to be like, why do all those statues have magnets on their guns?
They'll get caught once and then they'll get so paranoid that they won't pass another one ever again.
Very true. I once played a D&D campaign where my group refused to sleep without 4 people on guard because I kept ambushing them. And they were like, we're not sleeping.
Without 4 people on guard?
Yep.
How many was in this D&D group if 4 of them were awake?
6 of them.
2 people sleep.
Yeah.
4 stand watch.
Yeah.
1 facing every cardinal point. That is the sort of paranoia I love as a GM.
Very Ogrimmar kind of.
Well, shall we move away from here? Because if you say Ogrimmar, I say Ork Tuskland.
This is where I've seen them before then. The Ork
Yes.
Tuskland stuff. Yeah.
You say potato, I say potato.
Oh,
that's bad.
And this brings us not just into, because there's terrain as well, but also miniatures. So they've really gone whole hog with the Tusclans, up to and including squig-off-sized beasts. If anybody remembers those,
Yes.
you two can rampage about the barrens with your dusty, filthy orcs. I'm not saying they should all be put back into camps in Hillsbrad, but there's a reason there were camps in Hillsbrad. So,
wow. Man, they've got a really nice section of just
there's a couple of
your
pages
bog
of
standard
this.
troops as well. So you can make a fairly varied unit.
Yeah,
if you're using these for ranked up stuff.
Yeah, the Tusclans are particularly good because you've got various weapon options as well. So you have great axe, bow, spear, swords, general minks, and huge armored lunatics, I think is the best way to say it. You know, people with so much armor on them, I don't think they can bend.
Do they have a thrall in there? Or a
They don't.
thrall-esque?
The models, while they have that flavor of Warcraft, they don't really lean into it. But one of the things that you may notice is that the poses are relatively static again, so that they print with relatively little trouble. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not one of these people who are mad keen on angling for the best, most advantageous support structure and all that, you just go, just hit print and walk away, and they should do the job a treat.
Would be good for proper like ranked up stuff. So if you're making like a Kings of War army, these would be perfect.
Oh god, yeah. And also little goblins and friends as well.
Awesome.
You're still on the first couple of pages.
Oh, is there pages and pages of this?
There's the next page is mostly goblins. The page after that is mostly ogres, and then the last page and a half is all the terrain, including buildings, siege towers, and boats. Even
Christ alive.
That's the bunny. Yep, that's a flying goblin hound.
Wow.
I don't know what it is, but I want one.
It's chompy, and that's the main thing.
I want the armored one.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're a fan of Teddy Ruxpin,
that's Robot Wars with actual animals instead of robots.
Sir Chomps a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
particular Grizzly stuff.
Yeah,
Tuscan giant. You don't want to catch one of them coming at you.
Forget that. I want to see the better Oliphant model.
The Tusk Titan.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of only several large tusked horned creatures, and not just in the orc section, because they have built up quite a collection of monster miniatures as well, including some that look like they wouldn't be out of place beyond the wall, with giants on their backs.
Gee whiz. Are we going any further? Is there terrain or something you want to get
to? Jump to page 4.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there you go. There's a lot of the fortress bits and pieces. This is not all that. Page 3, half of page 3 is also terrain, but you get a fairly good Ogrimmari feel.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ork Colosseum right there. I've been in the Grand Arena. It's a terrible place, full of terrible people.
What Ork Colosseum?
I think you're only on page 3. You need to go right to the end to see the Majesty.
Oh.
Like I said, that's only some.
Oh, that gets opened on the way. Oh, here it is.
Tides of Darkness. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Stick a few columns in the middle of that and get your 2v2 PvP on. Try and get your gear up to scratch.
You're going to have to do it at some stage because the actual game won't exist much longer.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, the Tusclans is a barren waste, full of some gorgeous stuff, including a 4-leg Baba Yaga's hut. Because, why
just
not? Because it's a wonderful thing.
Well, they do trees and stuff as well, so you can actually populate the thing.
Oh yeah, literally, if you want to play something, the whole premise behind this was it's run by a family of gamers, and the idea is if they want to do something, then they can just do it. So they don't need to go to other places to find foliage and the like. You should be able to get heroes and miniatures and whatever it happens to be, all in the one place. You've wandered off to
Look at that beastie!
Croc Rider.
Wow.
Certainly a different type of orc cavalry, isn't it?
I like that you've got the unarmored version as well, so you can have it just be a creature that you turn up. It turns up in a swamp somewhere. Yeah. Stay in the boat. The boat's gone.
Get out of the boat. Get out of the boat.
Yeah.
But shall we wander on and take a look at some of the, I suppose, bigger things? If you have a look at Monster Miniatures Deluxe, these are exactly what it says in the tin. Big things.
Deluxe.
Oh, wow.
Deluxe meaning massive in this case. So
Let's just open a smattering of these.
Yeah. And there's so many weird and wacky things in there. There's an Infernal War Machine that again smacks of some World of Warcraft strategy game style things.
Oh, I like this. It's a bit reminiscent of the Rancor.
He
Star Wars.
He skipped leg day.
With fists that big, you don't need to worry about legs. You don't need to worry.
I used to have 2 Rancor monsters, then my mum gave them away. Oh well, moving on.
Eclectic mix of just bigger monsters from things like the Guardian of Time, which is just a particularly nice looking sort of ancient elemental, to your siege ogres and your shore lurkers and all sorts of weird and wacky and huge and frightening.
I like the plane strider. Looks fascinating. Just something like a bit weird and warped almost.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of these are D&D centric.
Yeah.
So they will be for specific things, but there's some stuff that's the phrase "it's not right, mate" comes to mind. That's not right.
That is not right. Look at the pointy bit, the stinger. It's almost as big as a stinger. There was a flipping hornet chasing me around the garden at the weekend. I hadn't seen a hornet here before, and its stinger was like a centimeter long, and it was chasing me about, and I was trying to hit it with like a little fly swatter thing, and the noise it made, really scary stuff.
But apart from the big monster deluxes, there are also their first monster range, which again is more of a D&D feel. So you see the epic kits is a good way, but the monsters up top is...
Oh, is this... Which one do you want to go to?
So monster miniatures. Yeah.
So this is effectively them going through the monster manual and being like, this would be cool if this existed. I don't want to buy it in WizKids plastic. Yeah. Here's a new version of it.
So people who play a lot of RPGs with miniatures will find a lot of the monster manual bits and pieces in here. Yetis, Yeti is Yeti. Monsters was not, one of their earlier ones. So you'll see there's a definite progression of detail over time. The start-hearted heroes are probably the earliest miniatures they did, and are the least detailed, which means they should print out a treat very quickly for anybody wanting to bang out a lot of stuff very quickly. But if you want to do a bit more detailed bits and pieces, if you want to go for a fungal giant, I know one man who would love a fungal giant in his life. What a shame! What a shame he's not here.
Too bad.
Go that way.
The thing that I quite like about this is that whenever, a lot of the times when you see things to do with the monster manual, you'll be like, oh, I want to pick up, a certain selection of things like a bone giant and then a flesh golem and then, a dragon or a tentacle beast or a displacer beast or something. But the likelihood is that you'll find things where a company will do one of those things, but not the others. So you'll have a kind of disparate style between your collection. Yep. Whereas if you've got something like this, which enables you to 3D print things in the same style from the same company, it means you'll be able to go through the entire of the monster manual and have a consistent tone and quality to everything. Which is really
I'd like to point out, Lloyd's not at the bottom of the first page yet. There's another million pages. There's like 280 odd miniatures in this selection.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
259 items.
There you go. So don't feel you have to open every miniature because you'll not get through them all.
Oh, I'll have a look at this necromancer. Oh, and I'll have a look at this big bug.
Yeah. And there are velociraptors, quaxicodals, or whatever they're called. So you've got your old feathered serpents. There's all sorts of wizard wheezes in here. And in amongst them, you'll find sort of player characters or NPC characters as well that you can use. So, humans in a variety of outfits and gear for paladins or anti-paladins or artificers or whatever it happens to be.
I wonder if they've any more of these. Use them as Vespids.
They probably do. They probably do. There's a whole host of mimics as well. There's particularly good ones, set of snowman mimics.
Oh, wow.
Which is great if you're looking to get your kids out of Frozen and into D&D, or if you just want to give them therapy for a long period of time. That works too.
It's quite a lot of insecty looking things.
Yep.
Ooh.
Well, it's very easy to send your heroes off to go and kill insect things. So,
yeah, it's very easy to send your heroes off to be killed by insect things.
That's
I think
true.
is what you meant to say there.
No, yes, true. Yeah.
Oh, look at this guy.
The crimson capper, like a red cap. Yeah.
Oh, anybody remember Troll?
Yes.
The TV, the movie.
No.
Oh, you missed out, John. Go and watch it.
It contains friends. Was she in Troll 2? Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, right.
No, she was in 2, I think. That is something she doesn't want to admit to. I'm going to say that right off the bat. Anyway, as you can see, dozens/hundreds of things in there. Before we get completely lost. Oh dear.
Dwarven Lich.
Awesome.
Oh, look at that guy.
Shadow Fae. Yeah.
Right.
One last thing I want to have a look at is Death Haven. So Death Haven is sort of a more horror-based
Oh, okay. Right.
range. So they're a little bit more monstrous and maybe a little less D&D-esque, moving into your sort of your Cthulhu. But there's some weird and wacky stuff in here. And for any Night Stalker players out there for King's War.
Oh, God, these would be perfect. Yeah.
I'm just saying some of my favorite ones are lurking in amongst here. And there's also for fans of things like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You've got those, I'm trying to remember what they're called, Demigorgon, although it's not actually a Demigorgon in the model isn't a Demigorgon model in those.
No.
But its name escapes me. But I absolutely love things like the flesh-fused molder, which is just...
Which one's that?
Oh, it's on the next page. And it's words don't describe it. I think it's unfolding or opening. It's it's magical.
These would be amazing for Rain in Hell.
Oh, God, yes.
The game by Adam Loper. These would be
the
fantastic.
Badger.
Yeah.
Where's this thing I'm looking for? Oh, opening that.
Where are we? Are we on page 2?
Yeah.
Scroll up.
Go up.
Stop. Flesh. There you go. Flesh-fused molder. That's the bunny.
Oh, my days.
Isn't it, though? Isn't it?
Where do the mouths end and the feet begin?
There are questions to be asked.
Oh, I like this.
Wow.
That's well creepy.
That's just your average, everyday, regular banshee. Fire in hand. Yeah.
You can imagine that walking across the landscape, laying eggs out of its mouth or something, just dropping them onto the...
If you want to see something laying eggs, the last page.
This looks like familiar to me. Oh, do you know what that looks like? It looks a bit... It looks a bit like the monkey type aliens that are in Evolution.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, they don't last long.
Wow.
I will say that apart from Rocket Pig Games website, they also have a My Mini Factory. I don't know if there's much of a difference. I haven't checked the prices for things.
I imagine fairly similar, I think.
I imagine My Mini Factory takes a cut.
I would assume so.
And so if you want to sort of help them out, probably best to go direct. They are, after all, just STL files, so I can't really see much of a difference unless you happen to be in somewhere in the world where it makes more sense to use My Mini Factory. I don't know. But we will say we have a Patreon link as well. They actually have 2 patrons. So the Death The Death Haven creepy stuff we've just been looking at is a separate Patreon.
Okay, right.
Presumably,
not everyone wants that.
Not
stuff,
everybody wants that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just want to shield children from it. I don't know. But they have a Rocket Pig Games, and then they also have the patreon.com/deathhaven, all one word. So you can see what's coming and get involved with those. And every now and again, Christina and the Rocket Pig crew do Kickstarters if they have something that requires a sort of a big push. But I think now that they've got the catalog sort of well developed from the initial sort of monsters and terrain and stuff they've done, I think they're probably going to go more patron focused rather than actually lay into something sort of massive.
Nice.
But we'll see in future. You never know. But that is the shizney of 3D printing. My work here is done.
Very impressive, Jerry. Very cool. Yeah.
Shall we have a look at a Kickstarter before we say fare thee well?
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
The Kickstarter we're going to be looking at this week is from Signum Games, who we had a nosy at as a indie.
We did
last month.
Yeah.
Earlier this month. Time blurs during the COVID time. But they are currently on Kickstarter with the Kitsune clan, which is a starter pack for the Legends of Signum game. So this is their deck building board game come tabletop game. And in this case, it's leading into your Japanese-themed multi-tailed fox people. And they have a whole host of miniatures, including koi carp riding figures, which is just the weirdest cavalry I have ever seen / assembled in my life.
Now this would make me sign up to Foxy Bingo. There we go.
That is the avatar of Inara, and that is just enormous.
Wow.
In fact, it's over my shoulder on my shelf side, because I've just been building a set of these for an unboxing that's going out next week. So these are resin miniatures, ogre sized for people familiar with it. So it's 28mm, but these are big. So they're sort of 40 to 60mm.
Heroic to the max.
Yeah. And the way the game works is you have a hero, which in this case is Fumiko, the sorceress princess, the lady sitting on her dragon throne. And when you play your game, you build you draft a set of cards for a deck. And you also draft a set of cards for a city deck as well. And as you build, they give you access to characters that can come in to support you when you're playing your actual tabletop game. So you've got like a card part of the turn, building stuff up, summoning new creatures, minions, or even sometimes terrain onto the board. And the objective is to kill the opposing hero as quickly as humanly possible. And this takes in a whole other direction. Up until now, we've seen quite a lot of werewolves, humans, and elves in a more classic fantasy setting. But they've gone with this Scarlet Forest setting for the Kitsune, or Kitsune, I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's Suni. Anyway, there's a lot going on, because when you get down a bit further, you should start to see a lot more of the add-ons
and stuff. Yeah.
So there is a starter set, but beyond the starter set, you'll be able to pick these miniatures up individually. And as we've seen after the Kickstarter, these will be available both as STLs and as actual resin figures. So if you want to have a set of koi carp cavalry, you've got a caster, a fighter, and an archer there. I mean, that's great. The avatar of Inari,
that's superb. Yeah.
That miniature is beyond belief. If I could get up, I can't because I hurt my back and I'm not moving. It's about 16 centimeters tall.
Wow.
And it's riding on a cloud base, but the base itself is 80 mil round, so it sort of spirals up to form this massive column of dragon. And that's just a character. That's not even a hero in the game. That's just somebody you summon in when people need whacked down. You whap, and they go away from you. I absolutely adore these.
They are really nice.
Yeah, but they've been unlocking a lot of stuff. So game-wise, if you are playing Legends of Signum, there are minions and bits and bobs that you can summon in, and they're just represented by tokens in the game. However, they are unlocking, they're like little fox spirits, so you could replace the tokens with actual little tiny miniature versions on just like a little 30mm base. Have a bunch of foxes running about the place stabbing people up instead.
Brilliant.
And it's a fascinating set of miniatures, especially if you're just into painting.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you need to be into the Legends of Signum game to lay your hands on these, especially because we know they will be coming out individually. I mean, there's some of those there. So that little foxy thing at the top is just, you can replace your token with that. And I think you should. Because it looks better than a little minion token.
That's one of the things that I quite liked about what they were doing with the stretch goals, is that it's not like the add-ons are there to give you more miniatures if you want them.
Yes.
The stretch goals are there to kind of give you alternatives to a lot of the stuff that already exists. So either upgrading components or upgrading elements of miniatures and stuff, which I think is really cool. So it doesn't bloat stuff too much.
Yeah.
Especially for a Kickstarter that's very focused on a particular idea of like, we're producing a starter set kind of thing.
Yeah, that you can see Dragon Lady there. Yes, would be the answer. Yes.
That's
yeah, it really, I mean, it's one of the nicest celestial dragons I've seen, full stop, because sometimes they look a bit, it's one of those things. In art, they look fantastic, but then whenever you see them rendered onto a resin form, they tend to end up looking a bit dog-like, or, they look a bit around the face. I've never really seen one that looks the job. I particularly like the fact it is floating along on some little celestial cloud. Because that's just gorgeous. I must have a look at that later on, because there's a second long ribbon from Stole, and I can't work out the glue point for it. But I see it's just cropping out from the other side of the lady on the top there.
Let's
so
see.
It's definitely worth checking out.
Already well funded. They'll have 14 days to go.
14 days, yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Did you see this? So sweet. Plenty of time to jump in and take part in that.
And like I say, if people are interested in seeing exactly what the miniatures look like, Monday, the prototype that they sent me is going out, is on unboxing on Monday. So there'll still be 10 days left at that stage anyway. But the miniatures are gorgeous. There's a little fennec fox with the world's biggest sword as a little tiny scout. The only thing bigger than a sword are his ears. This is just kind of ripping out of the forest into people. So yeah, fascinating stuff, and very different as far as a fantasy setting goes. We talked about that during the indie anyway. But want to check out if you're into your Oriental fox spirits. I think that wraps us up. It's a jam-packed show.
Very much so.
You go and have a lie down.
I need to go order some flipping greys.
Well, yeah, you can do that.
That cart's burning away in the background. Pay for me, Lord. Pay for me.
You don't want to forget about it, close the window, and then not go back. That would be terrible. Just definitely order that now. We are going to be back on Sunday, where we'll be having our weekly waffle on all things hobby. And if you fancy joining us there, if you're not already a member of the Cult of Games, then you can come across, get a 30-day trial, and join in and see what we've been up to and what the hobby community have been up to as well. And don't forget, if you want a chance to win that Kill Team box set, you need to be a subscriber to the channel, and you need to do it quickly, because we're closing in on that 100,000 subs very, very quickly. But until Sunday, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.